Hi, I'm Kevin Ward
And I'm Josh Mulligan.
with Tricky Fast Studios, and today we'll be further developing our Soldier AI. In terms of what makes stand and fight really differ from attack from cover, is actually quite minuscule. We will simply modify the logic from attack from cover after having copied and pasted it into this state. One thing we want to note here is to remember the point of the state is to stand and to shoot at the player from an open space and not in cover. Want to then account for instances like when the player comes too close. This way, the soldier will be aggressive if needed to, and not simply allow the player to overrun their position. So, let's copy everything from attack from cover over into stand and fight. We just need to add two more things here to help get the ball rolling. Add an action list and another proximity trigger. Inside of this new action list, put the proximity trigger, and then the face target and action list used for the shooting. We can leave the action list as is, so long as it's set to serial. Let's begin in this action list. Direct your attention to our new proximity trigger. This trigger will control for when the player overruns the soldier, and will cause the soldier to charge the player to keep the player from getting too close, and to take pressure off of other NPCs who might be moving to cover or are patrolling, or are standing and fighting themselves. To set this up, let's start by ensuring check on start is checked on, and our target value is set to owner. Now, let's set the radius to 5 and the collide target to player. We can leave everything else as is, but now we need to add a change state action to this triggered action. After having done so, we target owner and set the state name to charge inside of the change state action. As for the rest of the state, we can modify the values to give it a little bit more variety in terms of how it compares against other combat states. Feel free to leave it as is if you prefer a more similar experience. Inside of the looping action, underneath the shooting action list, let's set the delay to 3.5. Then, for the second looping action, let's set the loops to 4. Now the state is set up, and we can move on to other states. Let's take a look at charge. Once again, this state will be similar to attack from cover, with changes in its shot pattern, and no way of breaking out of it being the main separating factors. Let's copy everything except our triggered actions from stand and fight. This state will also need some additional cats. So, let's add a play sound action to signify audibly the change into the state. A set navigation speed action so the soldier will be in full sprint, and another play sound action for extra emphasis. Feel free to not include so many sounds in your version of this. I just like hearing a lot of cues in my enemies, especially in an aggressive, high damage state such as this. Lastly, let's add a looping action with a navigate action inside of it. This will act as a pursuit mechanism. Anyway, let's go back up to our first play sound action. Let's set the target to owner and select the clip armor break from our audio folder in the project window. We can keep the keep playing after stop checked on, and then for the volume and pitch, keep it at 0.6 and the reverb at 0.3. Everything else can be left as is. Inside of the set navigation speed action, we can target owner and provide 10 as a speed value. This is nearly triple the speed of the original speed for the soldier. Note, this is modifying the speed value on the nav mesh component on the base soldier. Moving on, we can see the next play sound action and set the target to owner and input robot growl as to clip. We can leave volume, pitch, reverb the same as from the previous iteration of this cat. you can find Robot Growl inside of your project window, inside of the audio folder. This then brings us to the third to last item, the floating values. We could keep the action list serial, and then these floaters, the face target action and the set bool animation param action, inside of the shooting loop, and then place them inside of this action list. This way, we can have our soldier act a little bit more erratically. We need to make sure for the set bool animation that we target owner and use the path option and specify enemy model. Provide aiming as the parameter name and set the value to true, and then finally set revert on stop to true. After this, we will look at the face target action. We'll need to make sure that this is instantaneous and screwy. To do so otherwise simply won't work with our animations. So here, we need to have owner as the target, player as the face target, and then have for duration 0, and for the movement type to be set to duration. After this, we can handle our pursuit. For an NPC or object to pursue another is easy. To do this, we need to set the looping action to be a relatively small delay, while also being infinite. Input 0 for the loops, and then set the delay to be a small number like, say, 0.5. This is the amount of time it takes to adjust course for each individual soldier. Now, we can look at the navigate action and start inputting values. First, set the target to owner, and then the destination to player. We can use owner for the animation target, and then use enemy model for the path option. Then we can use moving as the parameter name. Our pursuit is now set up. For the shooting loop, all we need to do is what we might feel comfortable with making our soldier feel as if he's gone berserk with rage in combat. I like making the time between bursts of fire 3 seconds, so in the first action loop, set the delay to 3, then in the second action loop, let's input 0.2 and give the soldier 8 shots instead of 5. As an aside, we can make one small change in having our aiming spread by setting the set random vector 3 action to -0.5 xy and 0.5 on x prime and y prime. So now the soldier will also be more accurate in this state. This concludes the charge state. Our last state. Death is a rather straightforward state, deciding the last elements of the soldier's functions up to its removal from the scene. The cats needed to complete this are set collider enabled action, set bool value action, add target to list action, set trigger animation param action, set float value action, modify integer value action, play sound action, a delayed action, and a destroy object action inside of a delayed action. First, we will need to cover the set collider enable action. This cat is used to disable the collide of the soldier when entering this state, so that no more points or other actions are performed, as the only way to reach the death state is when the player deals damage to the soldier while its enemy health is less than 1. So, to set this cat up properly is crucial but also easy, asking us to leave the target value as owner, and then to have the is enabled field be checked off and nothing else. For the set bool value action, we are majorly concerned with altering one of those soft locking variables is dead and setting it to true so that we cannot transfer into this state by other means than the health value changes. So, for the target value, set it to owner and then specify for the new value true, or in other words, just set it off. Next, we can focus on the add target to list action. This cat is particularly useful for cases when we want to add back cover without transferring to that state specifically because we are dead. So, we set the list name to named, enter NPC paths for the value, then activate the path and reference name options and input cover for the path option and available cover positions for the reference name option. Lastly, set the target to owner, and for the reference name, enter current cover, and do not check off allow duplicates, meaning that we send this current cover back to the cover manager. In the set trigger animation param action, we need to set the target value to owner, and using the path option, input the value of enemy model. Lastly, we just need to specify the parameter name for the death state. Set it to death. That's it. With that now out of the way, we can focus on updating the soldier's UI. The way in which we do this is to establish a value for local health percent, which has control over the amount of health displayed in the health bar. To set it up, all we need to do is target the value as owner, and then set the path and reference name to health bar canvas / slider and local health percent respectively. As for what this new value should be, input 0. Now, we want to add points, and we can do this via the modify integer action. To do this, we set for both the score value and the target value the type of target to player, and then use as a reference name player score, a self-explanatory concept only found on the player. Finally, the operation should be set to add, and the modification amount set to 100 for the total number of points we will add once this enemy soldier is killed. With this out of the way, we should add a death sound through our play sound action. If you set the target to owner, and then set the clip value to death mix v2 found in your project folder, we can then add our sound. After this is done, we only need a few modifications to the cat. First, we need to check on keep playing after stop, and then set the volume to 0.5, the pitch to 1, and the reverb value to 0.5. The very last cats we need to worry about are the delayed action and destroy object action. We need to give it some time so that the animation can fully play through and not delete its character until after such time has passed. We could do this through inputting 2 as the duration, and then as the child of the delayed action, we can specify owner for the target, and then also check on destroy on clients. This concludes the Soldier AI portion of the third-person shooter tutorial. I'm Kevin Ward.
And I'm Josh Mulligan.
Thanks for watching.